Moving along in the series of ranking the best NHL player from every round of every draft since 2000, we are now on the 4th round, and what I learned making this video is a ton of very good defensemen were selected in the 4th round over the years. And I'm sure you guys could tell that just by clicking on the video, considering the 3 good defensemen that were in the thumbnail. But now with all that out of the way, let's get right into today's video, the best 4th round pick from every NHL draft since 2000. And of course, if you guys are a hockey fan and you have not already, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video. Kicking off the video with the 2000 NHL draft, we have Ljubomir Visnovsky, who was drafted in the 4th round, 118th overall by the Los Angeles Kings, the first defenseman of many that we're going to talk about in today's video. And Visnovsky definitely had some very good offensive seasons. His career high was 68 points that came in 2010-11 with the Anaheim Ducks. He also had another 60+ point year back in 2005-06 with the Kings. He finished his NHL career playing a total of 883 games and putting up 495 total points. All in all, for being a 4th round pick, he had a very good career. Next up from the 2001 NHL draft, we have yet another defenseman, this one being Christian Ehrhoff, who was selected 106th overall by the San Jose Sharks. And like Visnovsky, Ehrhoff had some very good offensive seasons in the NHL. His career high was 50 points, that came in the 2010-11 season with the Vancouver Canucks, and overall he just had a really good career, and throughout his prime was a pretty stout two-way defender. Unfortunately though, a lot of people kind of just remember Christian Ehrhoff for that awful 10-year contract he was given by the Buffalo Sabres. From 2002, surprise surprise, we have yet another defenseman in Tom Gilbert, who was selected 129th overall in the 4th round by the Colorado Avalanche. Gilbert played in the NHL from the 2006-07 season to the 2016-17 season, where his best years definitely came with the Edmonton Oilers. He had a career high 45 points in the 2008-09 season with the Edmonton Oilers, and sure, he was never able to get back to that. He still had a pretty solid NHL career that concluded in the 2016-17 season, where he played 18 games for the Kings. Gilbert is still playing professional hockey though, as this year he is skating over in Germany in the DEL. From 2003, we have the 4th defenseman in a row in Kyle Quincey, who was selected 132nd overall by the Detroit Red Wings. Some other notable NHL players from the 4th round of 2003 include guys like Jan Hejda and Paul Bissonnette, who's now a pretty popular guy in the hockey universe. Quincey was a full-time NHLer from the 2008-09 season all the way up until the 2017-18 season, and sure, he was never like a top 2 defenseman or someone who would play a ton of minutes a night, but for the most part, he definitely did have a pretty solid NHL career for being a 4th round pick. Moving on now to 2004, we have the first forward of the video in Ryan Callahan, who was selected 127th overall in the 4th round by the New York Rangers. Callahan has played a total of 757 NHL games and has 386 career points. In my opinion, his best years in the NHL did come with the New York Rangers, where he was the captain of that team for a couple of years. Even though he did tie a career high in points with 54 when he played for the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2014-15, I still kind of remember him as a member of the Rangers, not so much in the Lightning. For some people, I'm sure their most memorable Ryan Callahan moment was when he was licked by Brad Marchand. And even though Callahan's playing days are most likely over due to injury, all in all, he had a very solid NHL career. From 2005, getting back to the theme of defensemen, we have Keith Yandle, who was selected 105th overall by the Phoenix Coyotes, and I do want to give an honorable mention to Nicholas Halmerson because he's had a great career as well. But of the two, Keith Yandle definitely has had the better career in my opinion. Basically, ever since he came into the league with Phoenix back in 2006-2007, he's been a great offensive defenseman. He's a multiple-time All-Star, has 567 career points. The dude is just a beast, and among active NHL players, he has the longest Iron Man streak at 845 consecutive games. He only has a little bit over 100 games to go if he wants to pass Doug Jarvis for #1 all-time on that list. From 2006, we have the first goaltender featured in the video in James Reimer, who was selected 99th overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And sure, James Reimer was never like a top tier starter, but he definitely did have some really good years in the NHL. His rookie year with the Maple Leafs back in 2010-11, he went 20-10-5 with a .921 save percentage and 2.60 goals against. He also had a really good 2017-18 with Florida, where he went 22, 14, and 6 with a .913 save percentage and a 2.99 goals against. And as of right now, he's a very good backup for the Carolina Hurricanes. Moving on now to 2007, we have Alec Martinez, who was selected 95th overall in the 4th round by the Los Angeles Kings, and he's had a pretty solid NHL career, serving as kind of a sidekick to Drew Doughty for the most part. He's played 588 career games and has 196 career points, all of which came with the Los Angeles Kings. That could change in the coming weeks though, because he is a guy I think is going to be a prime trade target for some teams around the deadline. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Martinez, but he's definitely had a really good NHL career and he's still going strong. Next up from 2008, we have another goaltender in Braden, who was selected in the 4th round, 93rd overall by the Washington Capitals, and basically over the past 7 years he has been one of the top goaltenders in the NHL. He won the Vezina Trophy in 2015-16, he won the William M. Jennings in 2016-17, and overall has played 453 career games and has a record of 275 wins, 117 losses, and 44 overtime losses to go along with the .917 save percentage and 2.51 goals against. Holtby is another guy whose future is kind of up in the air, especially with the way Samsonov is playing and Holtby becoming a UFA at the end of the year, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see Holtby on a new team come opening night next season. From 2009, we have yet another defenseman in Mattias Ekholm, who was selected 102nd overall by the Nashville Predators. I do want to give a couple honorable mentions to guys like Denis Savard, Casey Cizikas, and Sami Vatanen, who were all selected in the 4th round of 2009 and have went on to have pretty solid careers. But of all those players, I think Ekholm has been the best. Basically, ever since 2015-16, he has been a horse on the blue line for Nashville, and in my opinion, one of the more underrated defenders in the league, just because there's guys like Roman Josi and Ryan Ellis on that team. But man, what a steal of a draft pick Mattias Ekholm turned out to be for the Predators. Next up, from the 2010 draft in LA, we have yet another goaltender in Philipp Grubauer, who was selected in the 4th round, 112th overall by the Washington Capitals. Grubauer did have a couple of good years in Washington, serving as a backup to Braden, but I really think the move to Colorado was the best thing that could happen to him, as he's now, in my opinion, a top tier starter in the NHL. Overall in his career, he has started 166 games and has a record of 75 wins, 50 losses, and 20 overtime losses, and a .919 save percentage and 2.47 goals against average. Grubauer is set to become a UFA at the end of the season, but considering he's only 28 years old and how good he's been for the Avs, I think they should do everything in their power to lock him up long term. From the 2011 draft, no surprise here, we have the biggest name player in the entire video in Johnny Gaudreau, who was selected 104th overall by the Calgary Flames and has really turned out to be one of the biggest draft steals in recent memory. He's played 444 career games and already has 425 total points. He had 99 points last year, and while sure he's not having the greatest season, in my opinion he still is one of the elite wingers in the entire NHL. And I do also want to shout out Jean-Gabriel Pageau, who was selected in the 4th round of 2011, because he's having a great year. From 2012, I definitely had to go with defenseman Jaccob-Slavin for the Carolina Hurricanes, who they selected 120th overall. What a steal that has turned out to be. I've said this on the channel multiple times, I think Jaccob-Slavin is one of the more underrated defensemen in the NHL and doesn't really get a lot of credit just because he doesn't put up the amount of points as guys like Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson, John Carlson. But man, is Slavin ever a beast on the blue line for the Hurricanes, and it is nice to see him getting some recognition because he's going to be in the All-Star game this year. Even though it is because he's replacing his teammate Dougie Hamilton, who went down with an injury, it's still nice to see him in there. From 2013, there wasn't too many options, so I went with Andrew Copp, who was selected 104th overall by the Winnipeg Jets. Miles Wood was also selected in this 4th round, and I feel like him and Copp are similar players, so I wouldn't blame you guys if you think it should be Miles Wood. But getting back to Andrew Copp, he has carved himself out a pretty solid career so far with 334 career games and 100 total points. Congratulations to him on recently hitting that milestone. He isn't like a top 6 guy, but if he's on your 3rd line, I definitely think you're doing okay. From 2014, we have another absolute steal in Viktor Arvidsson, who was selected 112th overall by the Nashville Predators. In my opinion, he's got the potential to be like a consistent 40 goal scorer. I think he already would have had a 40 goal season had he not gotten hurt last year. And sure, this season he's not scoring anywhere near the rate he was last year, but he's still having a pretty decent season with 20 points in 35 games. And overall for his career, he's played 313 games and has 206 total points. Nashville has to be pretty pumped they got a player like him in the 4th round. Moving on now to 2015, we we have Denis Malgin, who is selected 102nd overall by the Florida Panthers. I do want to give a big honorable mention to Matthew Joseph. I definitely think he has more upside than Denis Malgin, but this video is based off of their NHL success, and Matthew Joseph is in the AHL this year. But getting back to Denis Malgin, I don't think he's ever going to be a guy who's going to play in the top 6 and put up big points, but I definitely think he can be a really good utility forward that kind of plays in the bottom 6 and can be a really good penalty killer. From the 2016 draft, the pick has to be defenseman Viktor Mete, who was selected 100th overall by the Montreal Canadiens, and it definitely looks like Montreal got a steal with him in the 4th round. Last year, he had 13 assists for 13 points in 71 games, didn't have an NHL goal until this season, and he's already got 4 halfway through the year. Mete is only 21 years old and is already very reliable in his own end, and as his career goes along and he continues to develop, I think the offense is just going to continue to get better and better. Next up, from 2017, I'm going to go with Emil Bemstrom, who was selected 117th overall by Columbus, but a huge honorable mention to Drake Batherson, who definitely has a lot more upside. But remember, this is because it is just based off of their NHL success so far, and Bemstrom has played more NHL games and has put up more NHL points, so I just gave him the edge for now. But Batherson has a ton of upside. He's been lighting up the American Hockey League this year, and I think it's only a matter of time before that translates to the NHL. And then from the 2018 draft, there hasn't been a player selected in the 4th round that has even played an NHL game yet, so we can't have a pick there, and obviously same goes for the 2019 draft. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Once again, thank you guys so much for all the support on this series. It's been a ton of fun to make. I do have a pretty interesting video tomorrow that's kind of a change of pace from some of the things I regularly do. But with all that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to go down there and drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys on tomorrow's video.